but Emiliano Martinez, you absolute king of shithousery, the sorcerer of soul crushes, the absolute mind game player. I don't know if you saw, everybody. If you don't know what I'm talking about, at the very end of this game, Manchester United get a penalty. As I told you, my team was going to give it. There was going to be a penalty given. Bruno Fernandes just steps up, and then suddenly Ronaldo's standing behind him. So you don't know. Obviously, Fernandes is wearing the armband. You think, well, he's the penalty taker. And Emiliano Martinez is in his face, points to Cristiano Ronaldo. Is like, hey, Ronaldo, you got to take it, right? You got to take it. Completely just in his mind. And Bruno, from this point, is done. You just know he's going to miss. And that he does, by the way. I think Pigeons got hurt in Rosie when he hit that one. And then I don't even know if you saw the dance, but the reason why I want to bring it up to Jimmy and Heath is because I do want to talk about, just the art of sort of, just being in somebody's face like that, sort of like talking smack. It's really a lost art these days. It doesn't happen as much, right? So I wanted to get your thoughts on that. And also, if you guys as players had ever really come across an opponent or a teammate that really gave you that kind of, just like, oh my God, shut up, you're in my head. And if it worked, I just think it's such a lost art and it's beautiful to see. Heath, let's go with you first.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? If you think about just the degree of difference between a good player, great player, and elite player, starts to become these little tiny details. And your job, if you're a defender or a goalkeeper, or anybody that's trying to disrupt the best players, is to just, if you can get a little tiny 1% in their head, just to take the edge over. And Jimmy was very good at this, whether it was just reading the game early or giving a little kick or all these kinds of things of players, just to make them remember that you're there, and it's not going to be easy. And from the very start, that can get into a player's head. The one that I played with and against was Rafa Marquez. He was a guy that would you'd be jogging away and he'd just trip you, and you'd be like, I don't know why he did that. And then you'd get up, and then he might just come over and kick you again or step on your toes. And it would be this casual thing that you wouldn't stop thinking about. And it would just live inside of your head for a while, going like, that was so bizarre that he did that. Like, why? Like, it's so odd. Or he'll just come up and he'll kick you, or he'll tackle you hard. He'll do all these things. He was sent off in a Dos Cero that I played in because he went up against, I think it was on Tim Howard on a corner kick and put his leg into his calf and got sent off. And like those kinds of things where, it borders. Those are typically the guys that end up with quite a few red cards usually in the end. Like, it all evens out somehow, but it never seemed to when I was on the field with them or against them. But just that ability to get into somebody's head and just like push that button, there's a real skill set to it. And in fact, for me as a player, one of the things that I wish that I had most was that edge, that little bit of killer instinct, a little bit of meanness to me, a little bit of like, I don't mind if I like kind of smash this guy's foot or kick him or get in his head, or I didn't mind playing mind games. But when you add a physical element to that, an average player can make a very good player's day very hard at the office.
Yeah, I'm going to say Zlatan seems like the most obvious choice as someone that dabbles in the dark arts of this type of mentality.
Yeah.
And he's very good at it. I think what makes Zlatan special is that he'll talk and then he'll back it up. And not a lot of players can do that as consistently as Zlatan. Right. Now, from my own personal experience, for all you old MLS rats out there, old CONCACAF World Cup qualifying rats out there, I'm going to go with Carlos Ruiz, who El Pescadito from Guatemala and LA Galaxy. And I say him because I went up against him a lot. And he's a guy that was fantastic. And to give kind of a current example of how he used to play, kind of Romelu Lukaku-esque, where he's trying to body you before the ball gets there. And before the referee really kind of knows they might call that stuff in basketball, but they don't call it necessarily in this game that early on. Like, they're not going to give any physical advantage. So he's very good at positioning himself. And then he'll elbow you. He'll do whatever he can to get in front of you. And then you barely touch him. I mean, you put a goddamn fingernail on that guy, and then he falls down and rolls it, and like you got him in the throat or something. It's so infuriating, especially as a defender, because you're just like, enough of this guy. And it's just to Heath's point about having that little mental advantage. He loved it. He loved the theatrics of it. He loved getting inside your head. He knew that if you bit on the bait that he would go. He had you. You were in his back pocket. He owned you. He was living rent free in your head at this point. And it got so bad. If people remember, Ricardo Clark kicked this guy in the chest after a corner kick and got suspended for like 10 games in MLS because he had enough of Carlos Ruiz's shit. So I don't know what else you could ask from El Pescadito. It's unbelievable. Go look up the Rico Clark kicking Carlos Ruiz in the chest. He has to spend like 7 to 10 games for that. It was crazy. But the best part about it was that he got kicked in the chest. And of course, Carlos Ruiz grabbed his face because why wouldn't he do that? Why wouldn't he do that? So I just want to give a shout out to El Pescadito.
I love it. And to the point that we're trying to bring home, everybody, is that, and he started it with it. It's an art, and it's something that gets in your head. And that's and listen. And Emiliano Martinez just did it now, but he also did it at Copa America with Jerry Mina. Like it's something. Well, first of all, as a South American, I just know it happens all the time. You don't just see it all the time, but by the way, one of the artists of this is you don't hear it as much because he's known for obviously everything else, is Diego Maradona. He was the absolute king of this stuff. You just don't hear that part as much. I mean, you do, but not as much as obviously his incredible talents. But the amount of shit talking he would do and say. So I just wanted to just give a little nod to my goalkeeper, Emiliano Martinez, because Manchester United fans on Twitter are going insane, and I absolutely love it.